The Cleveland Browns keep adding players, and they've quietly signed a couple guys that I really like. If you're new to the channel, we're Detroit Lions fans, but we have this channel covering teams that get overlooked by the national media. And Browns, you're one of those teams. So Lions, Browns, real similar, always kind of have been, and just love seeing what the Browns are up to. So two players. Let's take a look at them that have recently signed. One of them just happen to know a lot about being up here in Michigan. It is a former Michigan Wolverine that is really good. Devin Bush was a first round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2019. So, as you know, Pittsburgh has always drafted well. They've drafted well late in the first round, and they take Devin Bush, which at the time felt like an absolute perfect pick. He's fast, he's physical. He is just like a missile linebacker. But for whatever reason, it just didn't work in Pittsburgh. And then last year he goes to the, I think he went to the Seahawks, and just didn't play a ton. All right, right here, went to the Seahawks, didn't play a ton. But here's the situation with him: despite a draft profile that noted great play strength, eye discipline, and football IQ, Bush never performed up to this level in Pittsburgh. In 52 games with 48 starts, Bush struggled to be impactful. So he played, but it was just never what you kind of that expectation of that first round pick. So the Steelers declined his fifth round option. He just walks to Seattle, gets a 1-year minimum deal. And in Seattle, he doesn't play a whole lot. So there's two ways to look at this. Number one, if he gets in the right system, he gets settled into the right franchise, he definitely could have something. Number two, forget that he was a first round pick, right? So it's like, oh, he's a bust. He's never going to be that. It's just not who he is. But what if he's a really good, solid linebacker that, had you taken him in the fifth round, you'd be ecstatic about? That's what you're looking at here. And you're also looking at just high upside. If he doesn't work, fine. Nothing hurt. But what if he does? What if he turns into a really solid special teams player? And then what if he has an opportunity to just really help you be a backup rotational linebacker? You just added depth. And the guy that you've added depth with is this missile type linebacker that's just awesome. So I really like it, and I think that Cleveland Browns fans should be excited about this guy. I mean, it's crazy. So he will fight for a roster spot in Cleveland with a chance to make an impact on special teams, a fresh start, and Jim Schwartz could help revitalize his career, but he's undersized at 5'11", has a lot to prove. Now, I do think Jim Schwartz's defense is really tailor-made for him, and that Jim Schwartz likes to unleash linebackers every once in a while, right? So he used to do it more when he was with the Lions, where he would, or excuse me, did it opposite. When he was with the Lions, it was like base, constant base, rush 4. But I feel like he's blitzing more, and so that could be an opportunity for Devin Bush to really have an opportunity to shine as like kind of like the blitzing linebacker. Love that one. The next one that I love is Quinton Jefferson agrees to a deal with the Browns. The Browns get a 1-year deal from a former New York Jet defensive lineman, Quinton Jefferson. Jefferson's 30 years old, but had his most productive season in 2023. Now, pause there. Here's why I like this. Anybody that comes from a dysfunctional franchise, I love, because it's just like, what do they really have, or what could they really have? You may not know. If they come from the Jets, right, the Raiders, it's like, man, there could be something even more here than we even realized, because he was with a dysfunctional franchise. They were losing a lot. There was a lot of ups and downs, media, you name all that stuff. What happens if he gets into a franchise that's just well run? And the Browns are that now. Well run, good front office, good head coach, and has a good defensive coordinator, and just plays better than he even did with the dysfunctional franchise. So after being released by the Seattle Seahawks in his second stint, he signed a 1-year, $3.6 million contract with the Jets and wound up playing 14 games, all starts. So one thing there, he played 14 out of 17 games, check. Like, that's great in my book. You only missed 3 games, check. Next thing, he starts. So he is a starting defensive tackle that you just brought from another team to your team. I think it's perfect. I think it's getting overlooked, and no one's talking about it enough. Jefferson's a great player, and he recorded a career-high 6 sacks, 34 tackles before his season ended prematurely in December when he suffered tears in both sides of his groin each tear requiring surgery. So you're getting a guy that's older and you get him for a really good deal. Was a starter, but there's injury concerns. At the end of the season, he expressed optimism about his chances of returning for OTAs in the spring. So when I saw that he was injured, I was like, oh boy, but it's not like an ACL where it's a 12-month thing. OTAs are coming up. I mean, like in 2 months. So he's thinking he could be back for that. Like, I know it's not the best news, but it's also like, it's not like, well, I hope I'm ready for training camp. There's a big difference there. So I really like, I like him and what he's doing. Now, pair all of this and what the Browns have been able to do. And I think that's the big thing we have to take away from this is going into the offseason, the Browns were way over the cap. You had Deshaun Watson's contract. It's just like, oh, but just kind of a downer type of situation. Don't have a first round pick, but trade for a stud wide receiver, make some under the radar moves. And now you go into a draft where I get it. Don't have a first round pick, but the rest of the picks are there and you're going to have a quantity of picks and, not the rest of them. I shouldn't say the rest of the picks are there. That's not true, but you have some picks. And let's take a look at that and what that kind of looks like just as we look into the second round. And let me pull it up. Here we go. Tavondre Sweat is the latest guy. Now, I only look at Tavondre Sweat, but I look around here, Jonathan Brooks. I look around at Keon Coleman, Roman Wilson, stud. Xavier Leggett continues to be here. So my point is all around the 50s is just a starter. So you're going to pick up a starter there, depth piece at pick 3. There's a lot of good things for the Browns in what was a weird offseason to begin with and one that you just didn't really know about or think could be exciting. The Browns have been able to pull players and they're better. They are better than they were a year ago at this time. I mean, it's crazy, right? Because what you're not thinking about with the Browns is they've added new players, but then all the players that were gone with season-ending injuries will be back. So that's what's really exciting if you're a Browns fan. So again, if you're new to the channel, we have this channel just talking about teams that don't get the love. Cleveland Browns are one of those teams. And if you've watched our videos for any length of time and you haven't subscribed, love if you could subscribe. We're trying to get to 20,000 subs just to kind of legitimize us. It's like if you click on it, it's like, oh, these guys got 20,000 subs. Like they must be legit. So if you watch some of our videos, like more than 3 by now, it's like, you know what? Fine. I'll subscribe if it means that much to you. So appreciate it. And we will see all of you on the next one.